one, I'm not sure what session number this is, honestly. Maybe 6 or 7. But I know, I'm sorry, I can't remember. But Hank has had 2 days off, I think, just because I've been super busy with everything else. And there are 15 or 16 other horses in training right now. So he is kind of the last one I get to every day, or the second to last or so. But right now I'm going to pretty much pick up where we left off, see how he handles it. I'm going to start with the stick and string going around his legs, and then I'm actually going to move on to this flag that I have, and I'm going to work on desensitizing him while he's in motion and show you guys a little bit of what that looks like. And then I have my actual colt starting setup here, which is English gear, because that's how I usually colt start, and I'll be putting that on him and seeing how he reacts to the girth pressure. So we've done the saddle pad work, the saddle work with it falling off, we've done a rope around the belly just cinching up, and we've done the surcingle. So hopefully we've done all the steps to prep him for the saddle and he's not too anxious about it. And like always, we're going to be using, you can't see it from there, this positive reinforcement to mark the exact moments that he's relaxed and hopefully kind of implement that into his brain. So let's get started. So right away, just because we know it's a worry of his, I'm just going to pet him on the neck, but then I'm going to go right to having this touch his hind end. Good boy. Super. Good. So that little step there, I'm going to still reward. Good boy. So I think that was some of like the catching off guard stuff that Megan was talking about. Good boy. Good. So, and he's overall more relaxed than he was before, so it's coming along a lot quicker. Good boy. Good. He definitely knows what the noise is for now. Super. So that's going to be his little warm-up here. Move it around on the ground under his nose. Good. He's always thinking about it, but he's not really changing his eye at all when it happens. Good boy. And then just like with the stick, I'll go right to touching him. Good. Definitely a little bit of lack of concern there, but fun fact, horses sometimes when they're trying to avoid something will like be itching at their skin, or they put their leg out to rub their head down on it, and that's just their way of kind of avoiding what's going on. It's not necessarily that they're relaxed or okay with what's happening and they're just like hanging out or chilling. Sometimes they do that to avoid, good boy, they do that to avoid what we're doing with them. Good boy. Good, I'm going to do some sound. And then bring it back to him. Good boy. So usually whenever I teach them that touch is a good thing and rubbing it on them is something that they should relax about and not feel stressed over. Good boy. When I start to introduce the sound desensitization, what I do before I cluck, reward, or release my pressure, depending what method I'm using, good boy, is I'll make the sound and then I'll go back to touching their body, kind of to show them that that's just the tool I was using and that they remember rubbing on them, it's not so bad, so the tool further away can't be too bad either. So I definitely got more of a look when I was on his right side than his left. And then I'm going to do this with it because I know he doesn't like the stick and string. Good boy. Very nice. So that's something that catches a lot of new Mustangs, is stuff coming up under their nose. They tend to want to strike at it or get alert and back up in between their front legs. Good boy. Good, and I'm not going to stress too much on that. I thought that was pretty darn good. Moving right along to tacking up with the saddle pad and the saddle. Come here, Hank. Good. Good boy. That nice big release. Good. I always let them check it out if they need to, if they're feeling a little nervous about it. Good boy. It's super important that when you're doing something new with a horse that either doesn't know it or you don't know their history, that you make sure you have enough open space around you and the horse doesn't feel confined and that they can move away and go if they need to. Always make sure you're in a safe position with them in case they do react. I'm going to toss it over as if I'm tacking up a broke horse right now with the stirrups moving around and everything. Good boy. Good, I'm going to reward that. So this is one of the reasons I use my English tack is imagine doing this with Western. I mean, my muscles would be loads better, but good boy. Loads bigger, I mean. Good. Good. Very nice. But I wouldn't be able to have as much control over that saddle and where it went. Good. So now the girthing up process is always one that you want to be quick and careful about the first few times you do it. Now you don't want to be yanking up the girth on them and cinching them up super tight. You want it to be snug, obviously, so it stays on. But you don't want to be scaring them or giving them a girthiness. You don't want to be making anything too tight. Good boy. So, and if they start moving while you're girthing them up, my advice is to just stick with them very quietly and not really make a scene of anything. Good boy. So I usually put it up until it's snug enough where there's not any whole air areas. I can't see light through it. Good boy. I know it's going to stay on. Obviously, he's a little uncomfortable with all the moving and such. Good. And I do want to put it up one more hole before he goes anywhere. So again, just sticking with him here. Good. And always do it like super slow. Good boy. Good boy. Once you tack one up, you do want to stay kind of out of their range. Don't be directly in front of them, because if they do react, you don't want to be in their way. Good boy. So I'm actually not going to invite him in and reward him at the walk yet, although I would like to. I have not seen his interpretation of wearing the saddle yet. I don't know how he feels about it, so I'm going to make sure that I get at least the walk and a couple trot steps out of the way before I call him in, because what can happen is if I call him in right now, the feeling of him turning his hindquarters to face up to me might be what throws him off and then sends him into a buck, a canter, anything. Good boy. Good. Very nice. So of course, when I do call him in, I'm still going to be watching for that facial expression. Good, and change direction. I know I get a lot of weird, like, I don't know, comments, looks, critics that don't like that I start English, but I always say, because I start all these warm bloods here. All the horses I'm starting right now, I think there's 11 of them, maybe 12, I don't even know, that are being started under saddle, like first time. They all get started with this. And my reasoning is because you should just ride. If you're starting a horse, ride what you're most comfortable in. Right? So like, I don't want to be put in uncomfortable tack that I'm not in every day. And you know, I ride dressage, jumpers, eventing, good boy. One more. So I'm going to go with the saddle. Good. That is most comfortable for me. That way I can help the horse, feel the horse the best I can, and really stick with them. Good boy. So that's why I start English, and I definitely think anyone that's going to be starting horses should ride a tack that they're most comfortable in. Alright, time for the scary part for you, buddy. On to the canter. Direction. So I already know what I want to do with him for the next session. I want to put my long lines on these stirrups and have them flap on him as he's going around. Eventually I do want to tack him up Western, but I'm going to give the English tack a couple of days because he's not doing any big reactions, but I can tell that he's a little uncomfortable still. Canter. Good boy. Good. Good. And the other direction. I know, you're doing so good. Good. So I know he can go snappier with his transitions and all, but I'm not looking for that right now. I want him to respond still, of course, but I don't need him to be like 100% on top of it. Good, and canter. Canter. Good boy, trot. Good. 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 So tracking left is a little bit more uncomfortable than right for him. He definitely got tighter that way. Hopefully it was on frame when he did a little bit of a hump, kind of a buck. Not really, but you can tell he got nervous and tight. You gotta do that one more time. Good boy. And I think it has to do with when that stirrup touched the side. So that'll be something really good to kind of test out when we put the ropes on the stirrups and see if we can get them to make some noise as I have him lunging out around me. Canter. Come on. Good, and trot. So I'm going to keep asking for that transition until it's a little bit quieter. Canter. Good, and trot. Good boy, and canter. And trot. There we go. Good. A lot of tension that he's holding in. Good boy. Good. One more time. I know, is it scarier that way? And trot. And Canter. Good boy. Trot. You guys will have to tell me if you can hear him holding his breath in and kind of grunting through everything. Good boy. And canter. Good. Good. That wasn't too shabby, was it? I just remembered I said I was going to do desensitization in motion with the flag with him today, but I totally forgot to have him in motion for it and just did it with him standing still, so I'm going to have to do that in a future session. Good boy. Good. That was a pretty good reaction. Especially since this was the one that was bugging you. Good boy. Good. And then on the other side, and then I'll take this cap off you, buddy. Good. I found it interesting that there wasn't a super big reaction. There was a little bit of tightness going to the right, but the biggest reaction was going to the left and only when we cantered. And I also, I mean, to be fair, he did have a couple days off from when the last session was that I filmed with him. Good boy. And I don't know the last time he was truly saddled up. It's probably been a while, so I'm going to be a little bit lenient with him there and say some of it was just him coming back into it. But I'll be curious to see next time if he has the same reaction. And I know you guys haven't seen really all too much from him. He's been pretty well behaved and compliant and wanting to participate most of the time. Good boy. So it's kind of hard to like see anything specific that you would critique, but if you see him doing something weird that maybe I didn't pick up on, I'm sure it's kind of harder to see that through a screen and it's easier for me to see in person, but if you do see something weird that I didn't pick up on, let me know. And then if you have a way that you're like, hey, my horse did this before too, they regressed and kind of went back in this fashion, then let me know, and I would love to hear what you did to help your horse, or if your horse was able to work through it or not. But right now I'm really happy with his progress and I think he's doing great. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you stay tuned for the next session.